everybody say amen and signify by waving at me. All right. All right. Well, we thank God, like we stated, for everyone that's joining us, whether you are joining us live or you're joining us later on. We thank God for you, and you. We give God the glory, honor, and the praise for being back here for our Wednesday in the Word. And we thank God. We thank God because it's been, like we stated, it's been about 2 weeks. So we got to do a short little, somewhat of a recap, almost a restart, because we never really finished or delved into the lesson because the last time we met, the introduction or the lesson basically took the whole hour. Just the first 3 questions took the whole hour because there was so much that was going on, and there was so much dialogue and questions and people sharing. And so let me see, jog your memory. All right, because we're dealing with, or the lesson is entitled, do you mean what you say? All right, and we were coming from Colossians chapter number 3, verse 17, which it states this: and whatsoever you do in word or deed, do all in the name of the Lord Jesus, giving thanks to God and the Father by him. All right, let me read that one more time. It's Colossians chapter 3, verse 17. And it states this: and whatsoever ye do in word or deed, do all in the name of the Lord Jesus, giving thanks to God and the Father by him. All right. And so let me remind some of us, because the last time we met, one of the first questions that we asked was, if we say it, do we mean it? All right. If we say it, do we mean it? That was one of the first questions that we asked last time we met. And for some of us, we ended up having to realize that sometimes we say what we mean and we mean what we say. That's some of us. And then for others, we don't necessarily say what we mean. And sometimes we don't mean what we say. All right. Because there's sometimes underlying issues, all right, or underlying things that's going on, things that we're thinking about, or we're contemplating whether or not we want to say it, or we're having a debate in our own mind as to what we want to say and how we want to say it. All right. Because we're wondering whether or not, or what type of reaction we will get with what we are about to say. All right. Because sometimes, depending on how we say it, will determine whether or not it goes left or it'll go right. That's just the way it is. All right. But also it depends on the person too, because sometimes if the person mind is not right, then no matter how you say it, it's going to go whichever way they want it to go. But it's up to us a lot of times to turn around and say, no, that's not what I meant. All right. And we're not going to take this conversation and have this conversation go that way. We not do, like we would say, we're not doing that today. We're not doing that today. We're not going that route today. That's not happening. That's what happened before, but that's not what's happening now. All right. So with that, let me ask this question. And so I'll need somebody to come off of mute, which is the third question that we kind of started talking about, but we didn't talk too much about, just to get our mind and our spirit going. The question is, why do we think we can retract what we say once it is out? All right. Let me ask it again. Why do we think we can retract what we say once it is out? Why do we think we can suck the words back into our mouth and spit them out another way? All right, that's another way to ask the question. So I need somebody to come off of mute and answer that for me on tonight. Why do we think we can retract? Do we actually think that we are the newspaper where we can go and retract or rewrite an article or correct an article or correct the sources? Because a lot of times once it's out, it's out. So why do we think we can actually go and retract what we have said?
It seems like everybody's scared, so I'll answer it. I don't know where they do that at, because you cannot retract it. People do expect you to just let them pass, get them a pass, depending on what they come out their mouth with. But depending on who you are and what they said, you're not gonna let that pass. So I'll just leave it like that, just to answer the question.
Okay. All
Yeah,
right.
I'm just,
Someone else?
the only reason why I'm struggling with it, because when I say something, I mean it. So I've never had to retract. So I don't, to think like that, I'm trying to figure out what would be the proper way to, why would someone want to retract it? Maybe they realize what they said was wrong, or maybe they want to try to re-explain. They didn't mean it to come out that way, so now they want to try to re-explain why it came out that way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And sometimes we think words don't really mean anything, so they want to retract it and now add something else to it.
Or take something away.
Or take something away. Or now that everybody knows what's been said, you want to try to change the story now.
Exactly. You want to try to control the narrative. All right. Someone else?
Yes, I think it was like what you were saying with the newspaper. A lot of times it's not simple of us trying to retract it, but more or less we think that saying I'm sorry will cover it up. That's our version of the newspaper. Oh, I'm sorry, or I apologize, or that wasn't my intent. I didn't really mean it like that. I was in my emotions at the time and it just slipped out.
Okay.
Bebop want a shot at it.
Okay.
All right. I gotta pull to the side. Hold on.
Right.
Yes, Lord. Yes, 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 Jesus.
That means this is going to be a good answer.
I'm gonna say that loud. Pull over to the side. Yes, please don't drive. Pull over to the side. Yes, Lord.
Well, first of all, I'm another one that say what I mean and I mean what I say. Oh yeah. Now the other thing in my mind, I would say that you cannot retract it, because once it goes in a person's ear gate, it's there. You could try to explain it differently, but sometimes you may end up digging a bigger hole, because depending on what was said, the person's mind might be already messed up or still messed up, and you're trying to come back, and all you're doing is creating a shipwreck.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I would say the answer is no. That you can't retract it.
No, you can't. You can't.
All right, so I'm gonna pass the phone back so I can continue driving.
Amen.
Okay. All right. Anyone else?
I agree with Elder. Like when you say something and you keep going back, it's like opening up a wound again. Like the person will get tired of you, right? So once you said it, the way it came out the first time is how the person will take it. And if you keep coming back trying to explain it, it's now becoming an annoyance, like a mosquito. And so sometimes it's best just to leave it alone and not just constantly try to go back and explain and re-explain and explain.
Yeah. Yeah. Because like I said, it's the even if you try to clean it up, a lot of times because of it being out already, you can't clean it up. That's the end of the discussion. You can't clean it up, because once you cut somebody with your words, all right, once you belittle them with your words, sometimes, as I believe Minister Lonell said, sometimes no matter how much you say, I'm sorry, once you cut them, you cut them. And they're going to think twice a lot of times about what you say, or think twice about anything that you're about to say. Because when we get cut, we'll remember that. We'll remember that. Brother Isham McAllister, he said online on YouTube, words may not convey the way a person intended to, but retract to make their thought say exactly or close to what they intentionally meant to say. Sister Sharon Peters, she put on there, you can say whatever in love, but if it is not said in love, it causes emotions to come out. All right. And good evening, Sister Tammy. Because yeah, sometimes, and this is why I say I've coined the phrase to a certain degree. When you are having a discussion and the discussion is heated, or you know something is, or you're feeling yourself getting that way, or you call for a meeting because something has happened. Number one is you got to pray. That's number one, especially if you know that you have a quick temper, or you know that they have a slick mouth, and you'll react to what they said. Now, what am I saying is, when you know that you have that type of situation coming up, you need to do your best to remove your emotions from the situation, because your emotions will cause you to miss what they are saying. Because instead of listening, you will just be hearing, and you will be hearing what they're saying, but you won't understand it, and you'll already be working on what you're going to say back. Instead of getting a full understanding of what they're saying, all right, you're actually listening to how they are saying it. And how they are saying it is actually infecting and affecting you. And that's what causes it to go to the left, all right, or go to the right. And if we take the time out to listen to what is being said, then we can get an understanding. Because a lot of times, once it's out, it's out. And that's our first point on tonight. Because we got to realize, once we say it, that's it. That is it. No matter how many times, like we've already stated, no matter how many times you say, I'm sorry, no matter how many times you say, oops, my bad, no matter how many times, you try to cover it up, you try to smooth it over. Once you have said it and you have hurt, that's going to be the Lord that has to heal them of that hurt. But it also has to be the Lord that deals with the mental repercussions of what we said. Because no matter how we try to come back at it, no matter how we try to, change it and all that other stuff and work this and work that, it's not going to work. It's not going to work. And it's going to be a sad situation, because we think, all right, that if we say this, it's going to, no, it's not going to work. It's not going to work that way. Sometimes it's not that easy. I'm sorry to say it. Unless the Lord moves, sometimes it's not that easy. It's not that easy, because we use the statement, what I really meant to say was, all right? Or we'll use the statement, it was taken out of context. Or we'll use another statement, that's not what I meant. Or we'll make another statement, you're not hearing me correctly. No, I'm hearing you perfectly, correctly, and I'm listening to you, and I'm repeating to you what you are saying. But a lot of times we cannot have an outer body experience to hear how we are saying what we are saying. We cannot come out of our body and have our body talk the way that we were going to talk, so that we can hear how we said it and what we said. The only way we can do that is if somebody records it and plays it back to us. That's the only way. But other than that, nobody's going to sit up there and hold it. Nobody's going to sit up there and hold it in front of us, because they're just going to be sitting there trying to understand. All right. And if we go left, all right, or we say, well, you know, I just got a temper, or we say the hood came out of me, all this other stuff. And we start all this and, you know, all that and popping and, you know, all them things, talking with our hands. And yeah, that's what ends up causing situations to happen and causes it to go left, to go right, to get out of control. Because let me say this, if the person or persons do not know us like that, all right, then we need to tread lightly. If they don't know us, if they don't know how we roll, if they don't know how we talk, all right, if they don't know, like, even to give you a case in point, with as crazy as Minister GP's humor is, his humor is not for everybody. His humor is not for everybody. For some people, I mess with him all the time. His humor for some is a turnoff because they can't get with it. It's not for everybody. You know, some of them is funny, but some of them is not. You know, but that if you don't know him, then you'll end up be like, yo, what is up with him? That's just him. You think about yourself. Think about the things that you say. Think about the things that you do. All right. That's just you. All right. Think about, even put it this way. Some things that people have said to you, all right, has caused you to change, all right, your attitude, has caused you to change your disposition, has caused you to change the way you act, the way you think, the way you talk, the way you walk, the way you look at yourself. It's changed everything about you. And even go back in the day when your parent used to call you out your name. Same exact thing. Same exact thing. They would tell you and say, oh, you black. Oh, you dark. Oh, you short. Oh, you fat. Oh, you can't speak. Oh, you dumb. Oh, you this. Oh, you that. And they keep saying it to you over and over again. And then they'll come back and say, oh, my bad. I really didn't mean that. No, if you keep saying it to me, then why in the world would you try to all of a sudden try to come back and tell me that's not what you meant? And then we sit up there and say, let me put it this way, or we'll sit up there and question, why is our child, all right, going off, all right, and acting all crazy? Well, you know what? You planted the seeds in them when you sat up there and said whatever you said about them. Whatever you said, negatively, called them out their name. I mean, all types of stuff. You didn't show them any type of verbal, you didn't build them up verbally at all. You didn't do it. And so next thing you know, they get to being 16 years old. They get to being 12, 14, 18 years old. And now you want to say, Lord, what's wrong with my child? And then they all of a sudden leave the church. And next thing you know, be like, Lord, why, please watch over my child while they out there in the world doing what they doing. No, let me tell you something. Part of the reason why they out there is because of the life that you live. And because of the verbal abuse, all right, that they receive on your behalf. And we have to sometimes, not even sometimes, we need to take ownership of it. We need to take ownership of it, and we need to go back to them and tell them that I'm sorry. Because that I'm sorry, even though it's $1 short, and who knows how many days and years later, it will go a long way. Because prayerfully and hopefully, all right, Lord willing, they will not go and do the same thing to their child. Because some of this stuff that goes on right now is learned behavior. Because I'll say this, and then I got a couple questions to ask us. Because with our words, we can do more damage than good. With our words, we can do more damage than good. We can build up a person or we can break a person down. But it's up to our words. It's with our words. And even like they say, when we know better, we should do better. We should not be verbally living one way in church and verbally living another way at home. There should not be any difference between the two. Not at all. There should not be any difference whatsoever. Because Ephesians 4:15, it says, but speaking the truth in love may grow up into him in all things, which is the head, even Christ. Speaking the truth in love. In love is the main part. Because if you're not speaking the truth in love, you're doing it out of anger, you're doing it out of hatred, you're doing it out of jealousy, you're doing it out of strife, all right? Any of that stuff, bitterness, all you're doing is planting seeds in that person. All you're doing is planting seeds. And after a while, those seeds will germinate and the seed will grow. It will grow. So let me ask this question. If some people are so tough, why can't we handle the verbal truth?
Exactly. I'll answer that first again. So everybody isn't so tough like they portray to be. Some people are phone thugs. Some people are fake thugs. Some people are real thugs. But you can always tell because a lot of people that have all the mouth really can't fight. You know, can't fight to save their life. But yeah, I'll leave it just like that because I feel like I was about to go way left, and no, I ain't gonna do that. So that's it.
But you also got to add in there, Trees, that some are Facebook and Twitter.
Oh,
and Instagram.
yes. Yeah.
That's
definitely
they
internet
hide
thugs.
behind
The
it.
internet thugs. Oh yeah.
Yep. They'll hide behind it, but then when you
Yeah,
call them on it, when you see
no,
them,
no, I didn't mean it like that. I wasn't saying like that. Oh yes, you was. We know I was gangster though. Chill out.
Yep.
You gotta remind them. Oh yes.
Yep. Yep.
I have
All right,
I have
somebody else?
guests. I have guests in my house and they want to answer the question.
Go ahead, guess. I have no problem with it. How you doing, young lady?
Hi, Pastor Lamont. Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
My name is Sharon.
Hello, Sharon.
And I've been listening. Hi, how you doing? I've been listening, and the question, I want to answer the question because I did have a comment on what you said, but you asked the perfect question for my comment. So you said, if people seem to be so tough, why can't they handle, what was the full statement? Verbal.
Yep,
what?
verbal truth.
Verbal truth. I believe that is because they're not emotionally mature.
Mm-hmm.
And instead of, because I hear you say that we need to tread lightly about how we are, about how we speak to people, but that's just teaching us to shrink ourselves. I've been learning a lesson personally about not shrinking myself. And this is a real life lesson that I've learned within these last 48 to 72 hours. So instead of teaching people to shrink themselves to appease other people, we should help teach emotional maturity, self-esteem, and how to receive other people and how they are, and just love people for who they are, and understand there are some people who are just who they are. And it's for some people it's their strengths, and for some people it's their weaknesses, but that's not up for us to decide. It's up for us to help one another mature and grow emotionally. So when we encounter those people that we love who may be hard sometimes, we know how to deal with them. And we're not offended when we encounter them at their lowest. If we come to them up here and we work on ourselves and we come at them and we're at a level up here, no matter what they do to try and bring us down, we won't be so far brought down that it's detrimental to the relationship. We're able to come back and communicate and get a better understanding of what was, being said. So teaching emotional maturity instead of shrinking and tiptoeing and walking on eggshells around people is what I believe would be more effective.
I like that emotional maturity. That is really good. I really like that emotional maturity, because like you're saying, there are some people that are super sensitive, And it's only because we have, all right, taken this term as far as called bullying, and we've taken it to the extreme. We cannot have a healthy disagreement, all right, and still go and play in the sandbox. You know what I'm saying? They have to take it to the place where, no, you can't say that. Oh, you can't say this. Oh, no, that's this.
Right.
Oh, no, that's no. Like you stated, I love that. You are, emotionally mature, because those who are emotionally mature are able to handle the verbal truth, because that's how most of us that's on here now have grown up to be who we are.
Yeah.
We had to, God, I thank you. We had to be emotionally mature. We had to emotionally grow up and have thick skin because of, I can't tell you how many times when I was younger, when my Bishop Young, I'll tell you the story, how many times he sat up there and called me out in service in front of everybody, and I was playing the drums. So you know how long ago that was. And he said, boy, if you miss another beat, I'm going to jump over them drums and I'm going to lay you out and then make you get back up and play the drums again. Now, if I did not, all right, grow to be able to handle that type of correction, I would not be the person that I am today. Now, I don't want to keep going, and all that, but I want somebody else to chime on in. Thank you. Somebody else has something they want to add. Okay. Because that's why I have a fear to a certain degree, or let me put it this way, not a fear, nervous. All right, nervous about when this generation that we have right now, all right, when they get into, if the world is around here long enough, when they are on the big stage, as far as politicians and stuff like that, all right, when they control, all right, the nuclear bombs and things of that nature, all right, because they will feel that they are attacked, all right, because of, what somebody said to them, when they don't even realize, listen, this is all a part of the game. This is all a part of what's going on. And if you don't have the inner fortitude to be able to stand and withstand, then you're in the wrong line of work. You don't need to be a politician, because you need to be able to stand on the stage and conduct yourself in a, respectful way. And you also need to respect the office that you are trying to run for, but also you need to respect the office that you are in if you make it into that office. And I'll bring up an old name. That's why I always had an issue with Comb Over, because he never respected the office.
Yes.
He never respected the office. I had no problem with him being the president, but please act presidential. Respect the office. There is a certain level of decorum. There's a certain level of, that you're supposed to have when you are the president of the United States. You are supposed to be the example. You are a representation of a country. Even when you take it away from there, even when you talk about as you're a leader in the church, you are the pastor, you're an elder, you're a deacon. All right, there is a certain level of decorum that you are supposed to have. You're not supposed to be so flighty. You're not supposed to be so quick with the mouth, so quick with the hands. You're supposed to be able to handle certain things, because to whom much is given, much is required. There is a certain level. And even as saints of God in the pews, it's the same exact way. There's a certain level of decorum, a certain level that we are supposed to act in the pews, in the chairs, in the house of God. There's certain things that we are supposed to not do and there's certain things that we are supposed to do. So a lot of times, like was already stated, some people are just not verbally or emotionally mature to handle the truth because they're perpetrating a fraud. And that's to combine both answers together. Now, before I ask the next question, does anybody have anything they want to add? Another thought that may have come to mind. All right. Oh, wow, 7:30. I didn't know it was that late. So Sister Sharon Peters put on there, that's why the Bible says, speak life. It's in the power of the tongue, life and death. Life and death is in the power of the tongue. So true, so true. Now, the next question is this. Why do some hold on to the hurtful words instead of the encouraging words? Let me ask that again.
Can you repeat the question?
Yup, here it comes. Why do some people hold on to the hurtful words instead of holding on to the encouraging words? They'll hold on to the hurtful stuff, but they won't hold on to the encouraging stuff.
Ty just said it again. She said being hurt is an excuse.
Most people use their pain as a reason for bad behavior.
Most people use their pain for a reason for bad behavior.
So they don't want to give up on what it is.
So they don't want to give up on the hurtful words that will make them have to be delivered.
Oh. All right, Professor Taisha. All
Yes,
right. I love it.
It also depends on where their mindset is. And it also go into play, like their background coming up, hurtful things that people have said and did to them, not being healed from it. And sometimes when you're talking, that part that's not healed, you strike a nerve.
Yeah.
And everything else that come behind that, I want to say that it's blocked, but it may not even go in the ear gate because they were so focused on, I call it like a target, like a trigger. That certain words will trigger certain things that you done been through, and especially if you haven't got healed from it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Okay. Now you can start driving.
Yes.
All right. Somebody else, because the question is, why do some hold on to the hurtful words instead of holding on to the encouraging words?
Depending on who the hurtful words came from, it could be more impactful than an encouraging word. Because sometimes strangers encourage the life out of you. I'll say it like that. They encourage you, don't got to know you from a can of paint. But you have some people that know you, know your situation, just know you, period. And it's hard to even give a compliment, let alone encourage you. So I'll leave it like that. I feel like, someone else can answer now.
It's all right. It's all right. It's all right. Anyone else? Okay.
It shapes
Go ahead.
it shapes your narrative, right? So if you hold on to a hurtful word, and like we talked about where your mindset is, it will force you not to grow up. It forces you to stay in a low place, and it shapes the narrative or be victimized for the rest of your life. When you choose to release the hurtful words, you're choosing to release the pain, you're choosing deliverance, and you're choosing to grow up past it. Sometimes we like to hold on to things so we can now have an excuse of why we're not where we're supposed to be. And we like to blame hurtful words for keeping us down. But once we release that, no matter who said it, could be a mother, father, sister, brother, once we release those hurtful words, now accountability is on us. What we're doing, what we need to do, and how we're going to grow past that and not allow those words to keep us down. And so instead of holding on to encouraging words, we like to shape the narrative of, oh, somebody told me this, or they told me this. So now we don't have to rise to the occasion. We don't have to soar above. We want to stay below.
It's time to bust out the box, because that'll keep you trapped right in the box. So, yeah, I agree.
Yes. Someone else?
Yeah, Pastor, you know, a lot of times we hang on to the hurtful words because they come from where we would least expect to get them from. A lot of times the people that we've known the longest, we've had relationships with, we've had fun, we've had pleasurable times. When they say things, they seem to dig deeper than the words of a stranger. And then on the other flip side, people that don't know you, they'll have more of a kind of word to say to you. So it's easier to hold on to that because everybody wants to hear a good word. Everybody wants to be encouraged.
GP, if you can hear me,
You
broke
can't
all the way up.
unsay some, huh?
Okay, there you go. You're back.
Yeah, you can't unhear some things, and you really can't unsay some things either.
Right. Is anyone else?
And also it speaks to where you are. So when you continue to hold on to hurtful words, if you believe yourself to be those words, you'll hold on to it. But if you know that you're not, that those words will, we talk about how sticks and stones may break my bones, but words don't hurt, they do. But when you know you're not that person, you no longer have to carry those words with you. You allow it to just run right off of you. But if you are vulnerable or don't know who you are, even in God, when someone even says a hurtful word, it's like a dagger, a dart. There is no shield to block that. There's no Holy Spirit to block that because you don't know who you are in God. But once you know who you are in God, I don't care who can say what. You have the establishment and the surety of who God called you to be. So you're not moved by what someone else is trying to put on you and trying to take who you are. Those words won't hurt.
Go ahead.
Yep.
They won't stick to you like a Post-it note, right?
Yeah.
You'll be able to flick them off. But once you know, when you get to know who you are in God, and that's why it's so good to keep your ears close to God, because people say things on purpose to hurt you. They try to, like you did the demonstration about the water and how people know you've went. They know you in the past, and they will try to use those words to dig at you, to hurt you. But you shouldn't be hurt anymore. Like we have God with us, and no longer shall it hurt us or pierce us like that any longer.
Amen, Minister T. T. Go ahead, girl.
Yeah, that goes right back to maturity.
Yeah.
It goes right back to maturity.
Just like our guest said, and I'm sorry I forgot your name that quick, but just like she said, same exact thing. Maturity.
Yep.
Maturity. Growing up. Anyone else? Okay. Because, like Minister Smith said, when you know who you are and you know whose you are, no matter what anybody says to you, it's not going to affect you because you have that confidence. You have that confidence in yourself, but you also have that confidence in God. Now, let me even put it this way. All right. For some of us that have another side to us, myself included, when you say that I can't, all that does is fuel me to prove to you that, like they say on the Nutty Professor, yes, I can. Yes, I can. And you stop your foot to emphasize it. That's what you end up doing. So like we said, you keep talking and tell us, especially those of us who, who's that way, you tell us what we can't do. Oh, we'll figure out a way to do it. We'll figure out a way, because even taking it to sports, one person that they always said, back in the day, I like Michael Jordan, they was like, never trash talk Michael Jordan. There's one person that you did not want to trash talk, because he will make you eat your words, and he will come back and he will make sure that you realize that you don't ever want to trash talk him again, because he's going to come back and he's going to annihilate you every single time. Let me take it to my favorite sport. All right. When Serena Williams lost that one time to Maria Sharapova at Wimbledon, after that time, no matter when they met, she owned her. She owned her every single time. She was like, I am not letting her beat me ever again. And so that was the last time she beat her. And she's like, you ain't gonna do that to me again. Ain't no, nah, no. And for some of us, let me encourage us. For some of us, that's how we have to get. All right. That's the mentality we have to get, because there are so many people that's going to speak against you. There's so many people that's going to say that you can't, that you won't. All right. There's so many people that says it's not possible. All right. That it will not happen. It shall not happen. Let me even make it even more plain. You even have some people that'll pull out the chicken foot. They'll pull out the Ouija board. They'll pull out the bat wing. They'll end up pulling out the rat tail and all that other stuff to try to put some roof and everything else over.
Just a name on it.
It's just the name of the book.
That's what they'll
churches
do.
now, because what the God said, I'm pouring my spirit on all my flesh.
That's what they'll do. And when that happens, you'll end up, all right, realizing or end up looking at it and be like, nah, nope. There's nothing that they can say, nothing that they can do that's going to deter me, that's going to break me down. All right, because I know who I am. I know whose I am. And I am confident in myself, but I'm also confident in God, because he has put in me what I need for such a time as this. And no matter what you say, it's not going to change my confidence. All right. Some things I may get a little weary. I may get a little worn. I may get a little tired, but I'm still going to come back. You may knock the wind out of me. You may knock me down to my knees, but you know what? I'm going to get right back up. All right. And get back in the fight all over again. And even for my sisters, listen, you get that no good nappy headed Negro and sitting up there trying to verbally abuse you. You learn and tell yourself, it's like, listen, he's not telling me who I am. I am not who he says I am. You cannot verbally destroy me. You cannot verbally tear me down, because I know who I am. I am a woman of God. I am anointed. I am beautiful. All right. And if you don't love me, go kick rocks.
Amen.
Yes, I had to switch it for a second. Go kick rocks. All right.
Yes.
Because you are not my Boaz. You are not my Boaz. And I get tired of seeing men always going and trying to verbally diminish, verbally abuse our ladies. If you ever want to see the other side of me come out, let me hear that you are verbally abusing somebody. All right? I will snap your head real quick. And then you will have to ask me, can I put your head back on? Because women, you are supposed to be held in high esteem. You are supposed to be built up. You are supposed to be encouraged. You're not supposed to be verbally abused, let alone you're not supposed to be physically abused, emotionally abused. None of that is supposed to happen. You're supposed to be built up and encouraged, because if there was no you, there would not be any us as men. If there was no men, there would not be any women. Vice versa, same thing. But for some men, they think that they have to sit up there and verbally, all right, abuse their wife, or verbally abuse, all right, their girlfriend, all right, and put them down to make themselves feel more manly. And when in actuality, you are less manly.
Right.
You are less manly.
That's coward status.
You are less manly. And to be honest with you, you have some issues, because You think that you have to exert your manhood with your verbal, all right, attacks. And your verbal attacks are nothing more than a smokescreen because you really have issues on the inside of you. And when you do those verbal attacks, in all honesty, it's the little boy that's on the inside of you crying out for help. But to sugarcoat and to cover everything, you sit up there and try to verbally attack your girlfriend. You try to verbally attack your wife. You try to verbally attack your mother.
Yeah.
And that's what happens. That's what happens. And you can't sit up there and believe that you are a real man when you do that. Because a real man will end up holding women in high regard, in high esteem, will continue to build them up, will continue to put them on a pedestal. Let me even go back to it. Y'all know how much I got tired of Senator Ted Cruz. When, to me, like I stated, I don't care that you're asking her now going to be Supreme Court Judge Brown Jackson or Jackson Brown. You tried to rattle her cage, but you can do it in a respectful way. You are a lawyer, all right? But she could run circles around you in the court of law. That's how learned she is. That's how much knowledge she has. But for them to verbally attack her the way that she did makes absolutely no sense. Makes you a little man instead of a big man. Because a big man will sit up there and do, like they say, what Senator Cory Booker did. Build her up, encourage her. Let her know it's like, listen, you're overqualified for the position. There's nothing that I can ask you, no questions that I can ask you that, your record is spotless. It's unblemished. It's unblemished. So hold on to the encouraging words. Let the hurtful words go. Because our second point is this: kill with kindness. Kill with kindness. I don't think we'll get through this whole thing, but let me tell you, we need to kill with kindness, not only in our actions, but also with our words. Because let me tell you, what we are looking at and what we're dealing with on tonight, and I'm just about done as far as tonight, is words of affirmation. That's the love language that we are talking about on tonight. Words of affirmation. Because for some people, as we have already stated, some people have been told on a regular basis by whoever raised them, especially going back in the day, because they were not shown love. They did not know how to show love. All right. They were not shown verbal love. So they did not know how to show others verbal love. But besides that, as it was already stated, they did not know how to receive verbal love, but they also did not know how to give verbal love. So it ended up repeating a cycle. And for some, right now, you are dealing with the repercussions of that. Because you're like, how am I going to encourage my daughter? How am I going to encourage my granddaughter? How am I going to encourage my grandson? When all my mother did to me was yell at me, cuss at me, call me out my name. And I'm turning around doing the same exact thing to my kids, to my grandkids. How am I going to get out of this? It goes back to what we were stating earlier. You get out of it by getting delivered. That's how you get out of it. How do you destroy the cycle? Not just stop the cycle. You say that stops here, it stops now. I'm changing, all right, my attitude. I'm changing my mind because my family will not be destroyed by verbal abuse. I was verbally abused. I was verbally belittled, but I'm not doing that to my children, to my grandchildren. They are not going to do that. They will be mentally, emotionally, physically strong. I will continue to build them up. And even if I have to go back and apologize then I'm going to go back and apologize and let them know, listen, grandma, mama, nana, nana, nanu, going back to the Family Feud episode with that lady, didn't know any better. Didn't know any better. But when we know better, when we are emotionally mature, then we do better. We do better. We don't keep doing the same cycle over and over again. That's madness. That's chaos. That's stupidity. Sitting up there thinking that if I hit my head up against a brick wall, after a while, that brick wall is going to break down. No, the brick wall is not going to break down. You're going to give yourself a concussion. Most likely, you're going to bust your head wide open and the white meat going to show. And you're going to wonder, why in the world is my head still bleeding? Well, because you keep doing the same thing over and over again, thinking you're going to get different results. Insanity. Insanity. You're insane. But to kill with kindness is you turn around and tell them, you're beautiful. You're smart. You're magnificent. You are the best thing in the world. Because words of affirmation is this, is the love language where you say supportive words to someone. You say encouraging words. You say supportive words. You build them up verbally. Because just as we said, people hold on to hurtful words. But listen, if you continue to encourage them verbally and continue to reiterate it, they're going to hold on to it. They're going to have they're going to have such a self-confidence within themselves that people going to think that they're conceited. People going to think that they're cocky when that's not the case. It's just that somebody built them up verbally and they know who they are and they know whose they are. And they're not going to get torn down by anything anybody else says. So let me end with this last little point. Depending on the person, this love language will definitely be foreign to them because no one has ever encouraged them with words. Depending on who the person is, as we've already stated, they may not know how to accept it. They may not know how to receive it because all that was said to them was hurtful, damaging, degrading, belittling words. And they don't realize and they don't understand that this person actually loves me. And this is how they are showing me love. This is how they are actually building me up. This is why I love them. Because every single time they will send me a text and say, you're doing a great job. You're beautiful. You're wonderful. Instead of saying, I wish you would die. You're worthless. All of those types of things. I won't even go any further with. That's what they'll end up saying. Yeah, I read your lips, baby. Hurtful. Hurtful. It's hurtful. But words of affirmation will build the person up. Words of affirmation will encourage them. Words of affirmation will make them feel love verbally. And that's the love language that we're going to be looking at next week. And that's the part of the love language that we were looking at on today. But we had to deal with the other part or the other side of it first. So with that, does anybody have any comments or questions or anything that they want to say before we close this out? All right. Well, I thank God for everyone being on the line on tonight. My name is Pastor Lamont Brown. I'm the pastor of Faith Baptist Tabernacle here in Asbury Park, New Jersey, where we are evangelizing to the family while building disciples. I just want to remind